Hi to all my Karnataka's aspirants. This is Manjunath Haveri sir. So today I am discussing a very important topic for your upcoming all exams, that is the CoP30 of UNFCCC. So before understanding the CoP30 and the key issues, first we have to understand the basics and the foundational or the fundamentals of UNFCCC. So in this session, we try to clear all those fundamentals required for our examination point of view. The first thing in the fundamental, we have to understand what exactly a mean of UNFCCC. In simple words, UNFCCC is nothing but as an organization of United Nations Framework Convention on the Climate Change. The first thing, what it does, usually it lays the framework to mitigate the climate change at the global level, and that means that it's very clear. It frames or it lays the framework to mitigate the climate change. And next is, you need to understand what do you mean by COP. The conference of parties means that who are the signatory to the UNFCCC of the UN, and all are called the party. And conference means usually it's a meeting. I can say that they do meet annually to discuss the key issues and what are the what to be done, what is already done. Like this, the key issues will be discussed in each conferences. So next one, the first is we have discussed what it is and what do you mean by COP, and the third important thing is you need to understand the key or the significant the COPs of UNFCCC. As we know, it's an outcome of, or it's one of the outcomes of the Rio Earth Summit of 1992. So which was the updated version of the Stockholm Convention of the 1972, which was to be declared as the failed one at the international environmental governance. However, the most important topic here we have to understand here is the UNFCCC was the first meeting was at the Berlin as a COP1, and the third important COP is also very important for your exam, which was held at the Kyoto of Japan. So therefore, it's popularly known as the Kyoto Protocol. And why it's a protocol? Because it had the legally binding terms on developed countries. So therefore it is actually considered as a game changer, the cornerstone in the history of environmental governance at the global level, because the first thing, it had given a framework, and the framework is means of that those gases which have the potential to cause the greenhouse gas effect or the global warming and the climate change are listed under the schedule, or I say that the Annex A of the Kyoto Protocol. And the second, that's and as I told you, and who were the historical emitters, for them the conditions are obligatory in nature, and so therefore such countries for whom or which you can say that the conditions of UNFCCC are legally binding, and those countries are more enlisted under the Annex B. Similarly, the framework also encompassed the Annex 1. The Annex 1 countries are nothing but those are the industrialized, developed and historical polluters. Annex 2 countries means that they are not only Annex A but also Annex 1, but also they are ready to extend their help either through financially or technologically to the developing countries, so who are the more vulnerable to the climate change impacts. So therefore, and such countries who are willing to help to the developing countries are enlisted under the Annex 2 of the framework of the Kyoto. Similarly, the Kyoto Protocol is considered as the one of the watermark in the history of international environmental governance, as it was paved the way for the proper mechanisms like cap and trade, means a carbon credit and the carbon market, we say. The second very important thing that we have to understand here is a clean development mechanism. And the third important thing is a joint implementation. All these mechanisms are a worthy outcome of the the CoP3 of UNFCCC. Similarly, other significant the CoPs of the UNFCCC are as follow: the CoP15, which was at the Copenhagen; the CoP16 was at the Cancun, which was very important because the national adoption, the adoption plans were the first time enumerated in this CoP. That's why it's very important. And the CoP18. I can say that the Durban of the South Africa, and the CoP18 was at the Doha, so which was the amendment to the Kyoto Protocol. And we need to understand, because as I told you in the Kyoto, that the developed countries were given some what we say, that some target year and some target emissions, and similarly these were updated in the Doha, the CoP18. So unfortunately, the target year was for the developing countries was 2020, but unfortunately, due to the novel or unprecedented the episode, which was actually caused the global, what do you say, that global tailwinds called the COVID-19. Due to that, the developed countries were unable to reach their aspired goals. They didn't realize their goals. And similarly, the COP21 and the COP19 is also very important, because the first time the concept of the loss and damage were also being enumerated. And similarly, another very important the COP is the Paris Agreement, as I told you. And again I tell you, after the Kyoto Protocol, one more the watermark event and episode, and I can call it as a headache in environmental governance, is the Paris Agreement. Because the Paris Agreement, it paved the proper framework at the international level. The concept of the intended national determined contributions, later they were modified, or they are modified as the national determined contributions. Similarly, the global stock take, we can say, the new collective quantified goals were also the part of the same. And one more, very the enhanced transparency, the agreement, that was also the part of this. And like this, we have been that, and we must understand here, whenever we talk about the Paris Agreement, we must understand the framework of, for example, I say the few important articles of this we have to understand. For example, I could say here is Article 1, which talks about the definitions. For example, what it means, and they're actually given the what do you mean by COP, what do you mean by developed country, what do you mean by industry, everything is explained under the Article 1 of this. And similarly, again, I could say that Article 2, usually it furnishes a proper objective of the Paris Agreement. As we knew it, it's been to reduce or to maintain 2 degrees Celsius, and if it possible to 1.5 degrees Celsius the pre-industrial level, and it's been exemplified and substantiated under Article 2 of this Paris framework. And similarly, one more important thing that I could say here is the 3 of article of this Paris Agreement, which throws light on the nationally determined contributions. Even India updated its the most recent national determined contributions as a part of COP26. So right, and has the Panchama, that's we need to understand. And after that, another very important is the fourth one. The fourth one is also very important, and the fourth means, again I can tell you, it deals about properly how we could take the measures to mitigate the climate change, maybe through that of the carbon sink and adoptions and the global cooperations in the carbon market. Like I can say that Article 6 is a very important. Article 5 is the carbon sinks it talks, and then again, as I told you, the 4 is some of the mitigation measures it also talks. And similarly, the 8 is also very important, and where it also talks about, it deals about the importantly how much the global cooperation is very important for the developing countries to mitigate the the climate change. And similarly, and we have to understand, we have to understand the article the 6 and the article 12, both delineates both. So it's about how the global cooperation is a very important to mitigate the climate change. That's again I need to say. And like this, we have to understand the each and every the articles of that one, because there is a chance is that the UPSC RKs can directly ask questions from this. And another very important thing, the Paris Agreement is to be declared a very evidential for India, because as the outcome of this, the Global Geothermal Alliance is launched. And again, I could say CDRI, the Coalition and Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, to be launched. And the Paris Declaration, as a part of that, we International Solar Alliance, that's also we have we had launched. And like this, so many things. The mission innovation was also part of that. New collective and quantified goals was also, I can tell you, capacity building initiative for the transparency was also part of this. And similarly, I can tell you the enhanced transparency, the agreement, and if the framework was also being launched as a part of that. So we could say that we had to say that biennial the review report, that's also be RLs, I can say transparency report to be submitted, again I can tell you. And one more very important about the Paris Agreement was that that's again I can tell you is that आपका जो NCDs, that means of nationally determined contributions, and this is also the contributions of the Paris Agreement, I could say. So like this, we have so many outcomes, and later on that directly you have to go with the the CoP26, which was a very important to understand. That's again I can say that which was at the Rome and the Glasgow. So therefore, where India was the what exactly the India was updated, it's the NCDs, that's again I could say. And similarly, the 27 was Sharm al Sheikh, that's we could say, and the 28 was the Dubai, right? And Dubai. And similarly, the 29 was the Baku, and that's again I need to say. And the CoP30 was the East. Going to take place from tomorrow, that is from November 10 to November 21. It's a very important topic that's to be understood. So therefore, here what we have to understand, in the CoP30 means, the first thing we need to know, what do you mean by global stocktake? And that's a very important, and these are the key topics to be discussed. The global stocktake means at the global level, so what all countries have been taken, the mitigation or mitigative measures to combat the climate change. And the next is the NCDs, that's as I told you, the national determined contribution, each country, the voluntary, each country is what they have been done. And similarly, which are mandatory things are also there, called the biennial, the transparency, the reports to be published by are given to the UNFCCC Secretariat, by each country what they have been done. Similarly, the global mitigation program main aim is to how we could phase down the coal. That's also will be gonna discussed. And most important thing, that's the new collective and quantified goals. That's so what the COP29 was hiked this one from the 100 billion USD to the top the 300 billion USD. This is also the key one. And similarly, the adoption plan still now, and you must understand that say India, though India had its own, the National Adoption Fund for the Climate Change, the Clean Energy Fund, that's we have the same, and even the National Action for the Climate Change and ozone. So many things that we have in this, the adoption fund, or else I can say that the Sustainable Development Goal 30, the climate action. But we didn't, or we don't, I say that, publish or the communicate about the national adoption report to the UNFCCC. So therefore, what going to happen, and what India is doing means it will furnish or to publish, or it's give its first the national adoption the reports to the UNFCCC. Similarly, so again we have to discuss about the most importantly the energy transition, because of, as I told you, the coal and the crude oil and other things to be discussed, and in this one. And overall, if I want to summing of, so what are the key issues to be discussed? The first, again, I'm telling you, global mitigation program, loss and damage fund, global stock take, NCD, that's NDCs, that's the national determined contributions. The next is, as I told you, the transition energies to be discussed, and the renewable energy, the finance, that's also be, and the technology transfer will be also be discussed here. And one more important thing is that in a new collective and quantified goals will also be discussed. Similarly, the CBIT, that's what do you say, that collective building initiative for the capacity building initiative for the transparency, it will also be discussed. And all these are very important. And again, the key issues are also here is that we are promoting all developing countries to take such initiatives which could benefit the world and the Mother Earth. So India has being a believer in the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and the cosmopolitanism. India has been taken so many initiatives. The most recent one is the global, the credit program is there, green credit program, you can say. And also India is a key and active in the the mangroves for the climate. That's also India is a member, and the universities aligned. That's also we had to say. And India, that's again I can tell you the theory. It's been the hosting the World Sustainable Development Summit. That's also again I can tell you. And India's the renewable energy investment is also doubling again I can tell you. And India's the proactive in the policies with respect to the natural gas, be it the green hydrogen, blue hydrogen, other forms of the hydrogen, is also appreciable. Like this, we have been one of the trailblazer in this regard, means of to ensure the clean environment for all. So thank you. Hope you have understood the session.